So welcome everyone to this edition of our wellness webinar series. And we have some special guests here today, so they're all going to introduce themselves. Before we get into that, I just want to provide some information for all of our participants. We love getting questions, and so as you think of questions, feel free, if you are on Zoom, you can put them in the Q&A box or the chat box. If you are on Facebook, go ahead and thread the questions below, and those will get transferred over to us to answer. So this topic today, and hopefully a lot of you are curious on what is IOU, and we're going to find out about that today. First, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Stacey Kasianchuk, and I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist, exercise physiologist, and director of the Gennev health coaching program for our Health Fix subscription. We have three wonderful women here today that are going to talk about them. They give background on themselves and the IOU campaign that they have started. And we're featuring in our wellness webinars do feature a variety of different topics related to women's health. And this one really captures a lot of different things. So we're looking at, like I said, three amazing women that have come together to support our community during a time when community support is needed. And there are connections here to health of women as well as health of communities. So we're going to talk about that today. And like I said, please bring your questions, bring your attention, and listen to this great story that we're going to discuss. So if each of you could introduce yourself. So Elizabeth, if you don't mind going first, give the audience your background and your role in this IOU project, and we'll kind of go into a little bit of that more as we go through the webinar.
Oh, thank you very much, Stacey. Thank you also for organizing this. I am Elizabeth Jones, and I retired recently from Colorado State University, where I was a professor of German and European history. And I love to cook, and I love food, and I've been volunteering at the food bank and soup kitchens here and with the Sustainability Coalition. And through that, I met the other two wonderful members of the team, Ashley and Aliza, and the three of us came up with this idea.
Excellent. All right, Ashley, why don't you give us your background?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, and my name is Ashley Relf. I am currently in fundraising for Greenbelt Land Trust, which is a nonprofit land conservation organization. And I also volunteer for the Sustainability Coalition Food Action Team. I have a passion for food and food security. And I do the graphics and the website and the donor records for IOU.
All right, and Aliza, give us your background.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So my name's Aliza Tuttle. I'm the current facilitator for the Food Action Team for the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition, where we all met. And I am an adjunct research assistant at Portland State University, and I'm just finishing my master's in urban studies with a focus on sustainable food systems, but that's been put on hold right now.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, and for IOU, I do a lot of the social media and outreach and just kind of organizational back-end fun stuff.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for these introductions. And I have a little story, and I guess we should clarify for the audience. So IOU stands for It's On Us. And all of us here right now are actually based out of Corvallis, Oregon. And you heard Ashley, Elizabeth, and Aliza reference the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition. So I have worked on the food action team with these women, not specifically on this project, but with other projects. And I saw this IOU campaign come through my Instagram, and I started looking at it, and I'm like, this is great. Like, this is amazing. I wonder who's behind this. And so we've all been separated, obviously, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I started seeing what they were doing around providing meals for people in the community. And so I saw that it was related to GoFundMe page. So I thought, this is a time where we need to be able to give to others. I'm going to go support this GoFundMe campaign. So I went to go donate money, and I get this thank you note from Ashley, Elizabeth, and Aliza. And I'm like, I know them. So comes full circle. I've learned more about this project and shared it with Gennev, and we've invited them to come on this webinar. So give us the backstory. How did this start? We know IOU stands for It's On Us, but would love to hear how you came up with a name. I'm just gonna, whoever would like to start, let's share with our participants about what all the great things you're doing.
Well, I came up with the name one day in late March, I think, and I'd come up with the idea of purchasing meals from restaurants at full price, and wanting to give somehow back to the community, and particularly to people who were newly food insecure. And it was just one of those things where you're doing the dishes or something, and the name just popped into my head, and it shortens nicely to IOU. So that's how it came about. And then I contacted, we were already, the three of us had gotten close since January, I think. Really, we've really gotten to know each other well. And I asked them what they thought, and we started brainstorming, and that's how it happened, beginning of April. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Ashley and Aliza, do you have anything to add to the beginnings of IOU?
I think one of my favorite stories is that it really came out of a text message group where Elizabeth shared a New Yorker cartoon with Aliza and I had to text her on the side and say, who is this other person on here? And really started from a shared sense of humor and shared goals. So it's been really seamless and fun. It's been a lot of work, but it's also been really easy to do.
Yeah, I think we've done a really nice job of keeping that thread of fun and humor interspersed with our text. We have a running text conversation, and a lot of it is logistics and coordinating, but then there's always the picture of Elizabeth's sourdough or Ashley's plans interspersed, which makes it fun and enjoyable and sustainable, I think.
Yeah.
Such an important piece right now too, that connection and humor and support, that theme to be thread during a time when things are hard. The reality is things are hard, things are different, things are uncertain, but these core foundations are really important. We were talking before the live broadcast here how you have not been face-to-face. This has been coordinated through text message, obviously, remote meetings, a lot of online platforms. So that's been pretty amazing as well. Can you share with us now, what is IOU? You talked about it's providing meals, you're buying from local restaurants, but what is the day-to-day like? What are the logistics? How did you start? Where are you now from where you started?
Well, I will try to answer that. There are so many different components. We started as a crowdfunding fundraiser, and the whole initiative was to get the community involved. We're trying to build a web of trust and trying to build a network which supports food suppliers, restaurant owners, employees, and really anyone in the community that needs nourishment. And that idea really took off, and it really, I think, resonates with people that want to give and then also who are in a position to receive for maybe the first time. And the day-to-day really depends on who you ask here. So for myself, it is creating graphics, helping to update the website, and sending out donation receipts like the one that you got. That's one of my favorite things. And then Aliza, if you would like to chime in on what you do.
Yeah, I think one thing that draws me to this campaign is the theory behind it, and also you'll notice that all of us have very different answers for each question, and I think that's part of what makes it so strong. But what I'm interested in, I think, is this idea that there's this the newly food insecure piece of the population, where there's a group that in food literature, they're called like chronically food insecure or food insecure. And when we first started this idea, Elizabeth and Ashley and I were talking, we're like, we're not really going for those people. There's kind of already resources for them out there. There's the food bank, there's, SNAP, but because of the suddenness of this pandemic, we think there's going to be this group of people that will fall in the cracks, and we want to catch those people. And we also want to catch this idea that people really want to help. Like, that's an innate human desire. We want to help, we want to give, and we don't know what to do right now. So let's take that, that desire to help and match it with these people who don't really know how to help themselves maybe right now. And then I was surprised at how quickly that idea caught on. And my day-to-day is a lot of social media and reaching out to various community members who I have always respected and haven't gotten an opportunity to connect with, and strengthening the local ties in Corvallis too. So community members in Corvallis, and bringing them onto this campaign, and asking, how can our campaign help your organization, and how can you help our organization? Elizabeth?
Yeah, and I haven't said much about what I do. I didn't remember that piece. Mainly what I do is contact the restaurants and talk them through what we're doing, and that it isn't a scam, and that we are, that it's, and how it works, and answer their questions about one of the things, and this gets back to what they've already said. One of the things that we've tried to emphasize, and I need to emphasize repeatedly to the restaurant owners or managers, is that when we set up what we call a community meal, and we get 200 meals or 300 meals to pick up, anybody can come in and ask for a meal, and they can ask for 5 meals, or they can ask for 8 meals. And the restaurant owners have been a little bit baffled at first by the concept, and because our answer is, you don't have to ask questions. We just trust that somebody coming in, if they say they need 4 meals, then that's what they need, etc. So that part has been a lot of what I've been doing, and then kind of walking the restaurants through the process and checking in on them to make sure that things are on track, and then communicating with Ashley and Aliza about the calendar and what's happening when, and those other kinds of logistics. Yeah, so.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I do the budget too. So I release money to Elizabeth to go spend.
And I'm good at spending.
And I'm good at reminding them that we need to plan ahead.
Yes.
You all seem to know your roles. There's so much to unpack there. I think, as you're all talking, there was these layers of social support, there's layers of community, and then there's also this layer of teamwork and this balancing act that you've all somehow seamlessly put together in almost this give and take web. So lots of things there that I think really highlight key components and support the success you've had. Before we go into some of those things and continue talking about this, I want to just make sure I understand the concept, and that our audience does as well. So you reach out to local restaurants and you say, we have fundraised money to buy meals. We'd like to purchase meals from you. And then from there, people can order, they can place orders, or they can come by. I think there's also a delivery option. And then the restaurant makes the meals, they go out to whoever needs them within a set time period, and then you're on to the next restaurant. Did I capture that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and we let the restaurants set the menu, and we try to hold them to, around $10 a meal.
Okay.
So if they make 200 meals, it's $2,000. And some of them have offered to give us, to donate meals at cost, or if we pay for 200, they will do another 100 kind of thing. And that's happened within the last couple of weeks. And then the delivery piece has only Aliza organized that piece, which is also very complex logistically. I think the third week, so we're only in this is starting our 5th week. And so we haven't been, so we've been increasing the numbers of meals from 100 for the first community meal to then 150 the next week to 200. And now we're going to 300.
Wow.
And they've been going in like an hour or an hour and a half.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a need. Certainly you all saw that there was a need, that there were going to be these people falling through the cracks or people that still need support. And you're filling it. That's a great way there. I also like the layering effect. So now you have you're supporting people in the community with meals, you're supporting local restaurants with business. They can potentially support employers, if whoever they want to bring on. That's supporting the food suppliers. So we're seeing this chain of effect here. It's a really beautiful web I'm painting in my head. What related to that, what examples of community have stood out to you during this time? Anything specific really, come to mind for any of you with what you've been doing?
Where to start?
You're speechless.
Yeah.
So many examples.
Yeah. So, I mean, every day something comes to mind. We have a Rolodex of examples that we can pull from, but I think one of my favorite things is on the delivery form that we send out. I have a little spot for, people who are receiving delivery just to tell us something. And one of the deliveries that we sent out, they said, thank you so much for this delivery option. We own a small food business and we've just been in overdrive, like baking so much to feed other people that we've forgotten to feed ourselves. And this delivery of one of our favorite restaurants just is such a huge gift right now. So for them, I feel like it wasn't about food security. It was just about this gift, and that they've been giving so much to the community, and being able to receive a gift from the same community is that, like, what's more community building than receiving and giving gifts on the same day. That was really nice.
Yeah, that's great. The idea, again, of that supporting others so they can continue to support others. Such an important thing right now. And also recognizing that this campaign isn't it really is for everyone. You don't have to meet a certain financial criteria. You don't have to have so many kids. Like, there's all these logistics that we know surround other programs out there that have their benefits, but here it is, this open resource for so many people. Excellent. Ashley or Elizabeth, do you have any stories that come to mind about community?
Yeah, I'll share one of my favorite stories. We have been trying to reach out to restaurants that serve different types of food. That's been really important to us, to be diverse and inclusive. And we received feedback that someone with a child with sensory issues ate their entire meal for like the first time, and it never ever happens. And then it was a new kind of food for them. And for me, food is so much about nourishment and sharing heart and love and tradition and culture. And we're exposing people to new kinds of food, and hopefully these restaurants will gain business through that and be able to reach more people.
Oh, that's a great story. Just again, and I love the nourishment piece too. I think that's so important. It's easy. And as a dietitian, I've been trained to look at food also from a macronutrient standpoint, but we can't lose sight of the whole food. It's not just a carbohydrate. It's not just a fat. It's not just a protein. And absolutely, there's culture, there's connection, there's community built through that shared meal. And this IOU also supports that.
Just really quick on that, we have data too that in the past few weeks we've been collecting from the delivery form, again, if this restaurant is new for people, and about 75% of participants say that they've never eaten at the restaurant before. So we know that we're driving new business, and we know that people are trying new foods for the first time.
Wow, that's huge. 75%.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite stories have come from some of the restaurant owners. One, several days ago, he called me the day after the event, and he tried calling me 4 different times, and we had spent much time. I had held his there. He and his wife were very, very nervous about doing this, and it took me a long time. I actually went there personally to the restaurant to give them a flyer and talk him through what this was all about. And so they finally decided they were going to do it, and it went really well, and we were delighted and they were delighted. And the next day he calls me, and finally I answered his call, or was able to answer his call, and he said, "God bless you, Elizabeth. God bless you and your team. God bless you." And I've never been behind on my bills before, and I was able to pay 3 out of 4 of my back due bills, and my family and I are going to be grateful to you and your team and IOU, and we want to do it again. And it was very overwhelming how happy and delighted and that's been echoed by a lot of the restaurant owners.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, just in this uncertain time for restaurant owners,
Yeah.
of really what to do, having that secure source of income all at once is probably really helpful.
Yeah.
What has surprised you about this? I mean, you decided to do this, you jumped in. Have there been things that you maybe didn't expect, caught you off guard, good or bad? Anything that stood out to you?
We were all surprised by how the simple model is working and how it seemed to just make sense. You would think trying to impact so many different things would take so much more layering, but it really is a cohesive chain. And if you start at one point, you can get to the circle, and then the circle keeps rolling.
Something to be said for simplicity.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Aliza or Elizabeth, anything that caught you off guard?
I think for me, maybe it didn't. I think one of the things that this project has meant for all 3 of us is that I think we all had faith in the model and in the trust that it represents. And we all really believed that the idea of the community meal would work. But I think it's been really fantastic to see how it's resonated with other people as well. And I think we were hoping that was the case, but I think it's really confirmed my faith, certainly in the community, and also in the potential that all communities might have to enact this kind of a model. And also the surprising thing for me, as I've said many times to Ashley and Aliza, I haven't collaborated with people before as an academic, because we don't really. And the collaboration with Ashley and Aliza has been the highlight of this experience. It has been fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah, another silver lining too, and good for you for stepping outside of your comfort zone, Elizabeth, and jumping in. Yeah, excellent. How about you, Lisa? Any surprises?
Just how successful it has been. I think I was totally blown away with how much people are resonating, or how the idea is resonating with people. And last week I had a phone call with somebody who I went to college with, and who has started some amazing food businesses in a local town. And he was surprised by the number of donors that we had, and the small amount that each donor, like our average donor is, quite small. It's $20 or $40, something like that. And because he was so surprised at that, I realized that, this is actually worth it. Like, this is unique, and people are responding to it way more than I expected they would. And we're talking kind of long-term plans now, which is also very surprising. I thought it would just be a short little intervention, but we're dreaming big, and who knows what the future holds for the 3 of us.
Yeah, excellent. What a great example of small things do add up. It can feel, especially right now, it can feel like, oh, what does a bot like, what's $5? Like, what does that make a difference? But seeing the collectiveness, again, that community come together, we know there's power in numbers and we can do more together. And I think that's just such a great point. And, it goes back to your name. It's on us being collectively everyone to support each other through this. So that's great to hear. I do have a question on one thing that in some of what you've shared around this surprised me and it didn't surprise me, but I would wonder if you could talk a little bit more about it, where you have to explain to the restaurant, so the restaurant owners, no, there's no questions. Like, no, just give people food. Like, it's not, it's a hard concept for some people to understand. How's that gone for you? Can you explain that a little bit more? Is that, and what thoughts have maybe come up for you in that process? That was something that stood out to me.
I think after the first week or two, I'm assuming that some of the restaurants have been communicating. I know some of them have been communicating because another restaurant that's on the calendar in a couple of weeks has said, oh, my friend is actually doing the meal right now today.
Okay.
And so I think some of it has been that the restaurants are talking about it and about the project to each other, and so it's become less of an odd idea. But I think it's gone again more smoothly than we initially had thought it would.
Okay, it's great to hear.
I
haven't
think.
heard any trouble.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I think not only restaurants have posed that question, but it's probably one of the ones we hear the most frequently. Even people who order delivery will put in the comment, I'm not really sure what to expect from this. Or this is my first time, don't really think the meal is going to show up.
Oh, interesting.
So, it really is laying a foundation and building trust that maybe the community isn't used to, but it's there. And if people are willing to accept it, we can build it even further. A lot of people have come toward us with ideas about how to set restrictions or who should be receiving the meals. And really one of our core tenets has always been no assessments, no questions. This is anyone who needs a boost. It doesn't matter if you have a job, you may have something else going on where you can't do it today, and something warm and nourishing will make the difference in your life. And so we're really standing by that, but it is a source of confusion.
But I think we've tapped into the trust. I think we all have faith that the trust is there. And I think that the success of this in some ways has shown how it's possible. And there are many other ways to do this. And I think this is just one way of demonstrating that, of tapping into this trust. And so much of the discussion, the public discussion or the national discussion, has been about the loss of trust and the suspicion and the divisions. And I think one of the best things to come out of this is that feeling of shared responsibility, and that we're all in this together.
Yeah, that's so great. And does speak to, trust is lost when people have been betrayed. And unfortunately, many of us, and sounds like some of the members in the community, have probably had experiences where they have not received a delivery when they thought they were going to, or this whole idea of free, is this really free? Like, what's the catch? And so you're going against the grain there, but hopefully, the outcome, like you said, is building that trust. There are these real, genuine services out there with the intention to do good. and that's it. So really great for you to be doing that. One thing you mentioned is this idea too, if other people want to do this in other communities, how do they get started? Would you have recommendations on how they would get started? Things maybe you learned that could help someone get there quicker, if they skip some steps that maybe you did that you didn't need to do. Any suggestions on that to benefit other communities?
Absolutely. We've learned so much. A few things. One, I think, is the first thing is to look around at existing organizations, and the goal of this is to build trust and build community and support business and local restaurants. But really those first two things of trust and community are key. So if there's other organizations in the community that are already existing and need support, go there first and ask how you can help there. For starting an organization like this one, one thing that kind of slowed us down at the beginning was not having a 501c3 status. Mm-hmm. And that's why we partnered with the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition to kind of leverage their existing social capital and their existing organizational structure. And that was key. So if there's an existing 501c3 that could take an organization like this under their umbrella and launch it, that would cut weeks off of the time and a lot of time. And yeah, we have a playbook. So if there are people who want to launch a similar effort in their town, please get in touch.
Oh, excellent. And a great example, again, more examples of community and sharing, things that we don't always see. So working together with another organization, reaching out, asking for help. These are things that aren't always easy to do, but really collectively, again, we're going to be better together. And then you're willing to share this with other people. It's not proprietary. Doesn't sound like there's a fee involved. It's genuinely, here, we want to help. We've done something successful. How can we help you be successful as well? So excellent. Elizabeth or Ashley, do you have any suggestions for anybody wanting to start something similar for their community?
I think one of the things that we didn't touch on, is that I've really enjoyed reaching out to different community constituencies. So we worked 2 weeks ago, we did a Mother's Day event where we purchased 400 total cakes for families. And one of the groups that we were delivering those to were a group of midwives here in Corvallis who were working with at-risk mothers. I've really enjoyed, this has allowed a lot of bridge building between different communities that are, as Aliza said in the beginning, at risk, even if they are housed, for example, things like that. So I think it also entails some bridge building to try to find out what the needs are in the community and how you can build bridges between different groups.
Excellent. So a needs assessment too, and that may look different for different communities just depending on where you're located and size and so forth. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think you have to have passion for the project. I know I mentioned that it was simple, but it takes a lot of work. It's rewarding work, but it does take effort, and it's important to have team members that have different skill sets and different perspectives. I think we are stronger because we each come through a different lens and we can see different perspectives of how we can affect things. So embrace each other's differences if you're going to do something like this, because the people we serve are all different. Everyone is an individual, and there's room for everyone here.
Excellent. Yeah, what a great way of a diverse group of people, diverse skill set coming together to support a diverse, different needs within the community. Awesome. You also mentioned, you've alluded to growth, expansion, obviously only share what you're comfortable with, but I'm curious, what are some thoughts or how are you thinking to potentially grow this? You've already grown it very quickly. If we think it hasn't even really been 2 months, right? Month and a half, you
This
said
is
5
week
weeks.
5.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on growth?
We're doing
And if
one
you can't say
experiment.
anything, that's fine too.
Well, we're doing one experiment. We had a donor contact us several weeks ago from Albany, which is in a different county, but close to Corvallis, 25 miles or so north, maybe not that far. And he said he was an older couple and they wanted to donate part of their stimulus check to help this effort because they liked it so much. And they said, is there any way that you would consider doing an Albany restaurant? And he named his favorite restaurant. So I called the restaurant and asked the owner if they would be interested in doing this. And she knew who they were and said, yes, we'd love to do this. So that's this coming Friday, we're having a pop-up, IOU Corvallis pop-up in Albany. And the other two, I think, can also speak to expansion conversations. I think they're in the conversation stage.
Excellent. Yeah, what a great way to support the next community over where there's a lot of overlap between Albany and Corvallis being their close proximity.
Right.
One of my background adventures was in a wine and food festival on the East Coast. So we have started talking about the idea of integrating wine tastings into an event for people who have donated to the fund, people who want to get involved in some different way, or even having a community meal together somehow. Really trying to get people eating and drinking and enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, what a great way. And then still to be able to benefit this campaign, to continue to benefit other people.
And the wineries too. So.
And the wine, right? Another area of food, especially where we are, is a wine region that also had some times of uncertainty, and still potentially do with the impact.
Yeah, I would say also we have lots of ideas, and the three of us, like we've said, are very different. And I think coming together to figure out how we want to move forward into the future with this is a conversation that we haven't quite had the time to have yet, but we will. But I see that there is a lot of need in our little town, and then there is a lot of need in other towns. So the question is if we spread community interest broadly, widely in different geographic locations, or if we really dig deep into Corvallis and figure out how we can match money with farmers and with food and restaurant owners and like enrich the business environment, and who at the table here in Corvallis wants to continue this idea and who has money to put behind that and to allow us to continue.
Yeah,
that's the question.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, I mean, because you are looking to support local restaurants. So it's not just asking them to donate unless they wanted to. So there needs to be there's a business aspect to it to make things go around, but the idea of using business in a good way to support the greater good.
Right. And we are supporting businesses, but we're also supporting the whole food ecosystem as well. So we think that the food ecosystem has an interest in keeping us around and keeping us motivated, but who's going to step forward and in which direction, that's to be determined.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you got some good plans, some fun brainstorming, lots of ideas. And that's the fun part, with this being your idea, you can do whatever you want. You could insert that creativity and really enjoy it. Well, you may have answered this, but one question that did come through was, will you continue after COVID-19 this time? I don't know what the definition of after is at this point. I don't know if any of you do either, but it sounds like you are planning to continue. It doesn't sound like there's an end at this point. Is that a fair assumption?
I think we have come at it from the perspective of as long as people are willing to invest, we are willing to put in the time and the energy, and we will do our best. And then the reality of the situation is, even after whatever after is, as you said, Stacey, people are going to need nourishment. There's not a lack of need for nourishing food in our community. Yeah. And that's in every community. There's always there's a difference between food and a meal. And there's always going to be a need for a meal.
Excellent. I love how you classified that, because I would agree. There is a difference between that and we don't hear a lot about that. Sometimes we think like, oh, well, here's food. We've given you food, but really, have you given that meal? Have you given that experience? That extra layer can certainly make a difference.
Yeah, and I think for the distant future, it's of course difficult to say, but I think we were talking about this yesterday, that realistically speaking, I think restaurants are very anxious about returning to business. And if this can be a way to help them transition to either a slightly different model, or just give them a little bit of extra cushion, so that they can navigate this difficult situation. I think all of us assume that it's going to be a long road. And so we haven't really thought in terms of how it's going, how and if it will end. I think it will evolve in different ways. And as Ashley said, if there are people who are willing to donate, then we will find ways to get meals to people who want them and need them.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it really, I think Elizabeth touched on a really important point, is that even when this is over, whatever this is, the restaurants that we have been speaking with have expressed that they have months of backed bills, and their economic recovery will not be as fast as just opening their doors. Food prices have increased and the whole food ecosystem has been disrupted. And we want to make sure that even if it seems like things are back to normal, the restaurants feel like there's a community support for them as well. They can reach out to us and say, hey, I'm behind $2,000. Can I make a meal, and we can work on this together so I can stay open to serve the community longer. So we're interested in making sure that happens.
Excellent. Yeah, again, come full circle back to the community piece here. I'm going to just give one more shout out for questions. If you have them for this group, now's the time to put them in the chat, the Q&A, or the thread on Facebook, and we'll make sure to answer those here as we wrap up. But we have talked about the whole time of, it's a donation-based program. So how can our listeners support you if they would like to? How can they get in touch with you? What's the best way to go about doing that?
Yeah, go to our website. It's on us, corvallis.org.
Excellent. And that will have all the funding options and contact information is there? Okay, and we'll make sure to thread or put that in our follow-up email for all our registered participants as well. So they'll get that information, and we can also share any of that with you for you to share on your social channels. Excellent. All right. Well, any other final thoughts on the topic? Anything that comes to mind that you want to share with people? Anything you think would be helpful here as we conclude?
I'd like to encourage people to reach out, and if they have ideas in the coming days or the coming weeks about this, a facet that they think might be interesting to include, or another idea, then we'd really like to hear that. As I said, this is also about collaboration, and I think the more feedback and the more we talk about this, I think the stronger it gets, because we really welcome input from the community.
Excellent. Ashley, any final thoughts from you?
I want to thank you for your time and for giving us a platform to talk about what we're all really passionate about. This has become kind of a second job for all of us,
Bet.
and but it is so rewarding. And I personally feel like this isolation and this physical distancing has created a space for creativity and for connection in a different way. And if you take the time to support each other, then it can be a really beautiful thing. And I encourage everyone to reach out to someone.
Well, I thank you very much for all of your time. We got a couple more comments that came through from some of our participants. One says, congratulations, love this. I am in a suburb in Seattle, Washington, very interested in learning more. I'm also an IE and have worked in the restaurant industry since 1985. So I'm sure this speaks to their heart. And then thank you so much for doing this and sharing with us. So you're spreading the word. I encourage all of our listeners now, if you know someone that might be interested in donating or interested in starting their own It's On Us in their community, send the link of this webinar to them, or the website, the itsonuscorvallis.org, so that they can see what the groundwork that's been laid here and be able to utilize that. So thank you all very much for your time, and appreciate you telling your story around the IOU It's On Us campaign, based out of Corvallis, Oregon, but certainly a model that can be done in any community. And thank you to all our participants for watching and chiming in today. This was a Tuesday. Typically we're on Thursdays at 1, so this was an added bonus webinar for us today. This Thursday and this was planned before the IOU conversation, but we're going to be talking about community with our psychiatrist who we consult with, Swapna. She has been on several of the webinars before, talking about COVID-19, talking about grief, and we're going to talk about community and how that plays a role in our mental health. So that will be Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, so tune in for that. And don't forget to register for all of our webinars. If you register and you can't attend at that time, you will get a link for the on-demand option, so you can watch it or listen to it anytime. All right, thank you all very much again, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.